Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is AISYAH Anati binti Johari with matrix number 202111000844, and today I would like to discuss or summarize the 5 topics that I use in completing assignment 1 or individual assignment. Cybercrime, often known as computer crime, is the criminal use of computer to achieve illegal goals such as fraud, trafficking in child pornography and intellectual property, stealing identities or invading privacy. Whereas, cybersecurity, also known as computer security, is the protection of internet-connected systems such as hardware, software, and data from cyber threats. One of the most common cybercrime is cyber laundering, which is a sophisticated form of money laundering that leverages the internet and other digital platforms to conceal and transfer illegally obtained funds. It involves the use of complex and advanced technology such as virtual currency, encryption, and anonymization to cover the threats of criminal activities. There are 2 types of cyber laundering, each with its own unique characteristic and methods. The first type is called instrumental digital laundering. In this type of cyber laundering, the criminal uses digital tools to carry out one or more constituent steps of the money laundering offense. The second type of cyber laundering is known as integral digital laundering. In this type of money laundering, all 3 steps take place entirely and completely with the use of computer or digital tool. Cyber laundering often takes place online using software flaws and bugs or utilizing specialized hardware and software to connect an anonymous and location untraceable manner. This technique enables criminals to trick law enforcement officials and engage in their illegal activities covertly. To further understand, here's an animated video explaining what is money laundering.
As financial crime evolves, money laundering is of increasing concern. It enables a variety of serious offences, from fraud to illegal poaching and human trafficking. But what is money laundering? The United Nations defines money laundering as the processing of criminal proceeds to disguise their illegal origin. Laundered money comes from illicit activities known as predicate offences, including tax crime, human trafficking, murder, cybercrime, insider trading, and environmental crime. Funds are laundered in 3 stages to appear legitimate. 1. Placement. Dirty money is introduced into the financial system, often broken into smaller pieces and distributed into different accounts. 2. Layering. A complex series of transactions obscure its origin. 3. Integration. The money is reintegrated into the financial system, often through investments or falsified loans or payroll. Successfully laundered money can then be used as if it were legitimate. So, how can firms stay ahead of evolving financial crime? Explore our content on money laundering to find out more.
In conclusion, we can say that cybercrime is a dangerous offense to someone's privacy or material. Also, we can avoid cybercrime by following some basic logical things and using our common sense. Above all, cybercrime is a violation of not only law, but of human rights too. Intellectual property, also known as IP, is a term used to encompass a range of legal rights that protect the creations of the mind and creative effort. Intellectual property refers to the idea that certain products of human intellect should be protected in the same way that physical property, also known as tangible assets, Intellectual property can include a variety of intangibles, and one of the most common intellectual property is patent, which are investors' property right that is often issued by a government agency. The patent grants the inventor sole ownership of the invention, which could be a design, procedure, improvement, or physical invention, such as a machine. Patents for design are frequently held by technology and software companies. For example, the patent for the personal computer was filed in 1980 by Steve Jobs and 3 other colleagues at Apple. As to why patent is important is because when an inventor obtains a patent, they secure the right to exclude others from using, making, and selling their product or method of use for 20 years while maintaining the right to sell the item exclusively and for a higher price. To further understand, here is animated video of history of patent.
Inventiveness has always been a huge asset to mankind. Through inventiveness, we eventually developed the infrastructures for agriculture and the craftworks that shape our world today. As we created new inventions, the need to also protect them from copiers and infringement became increasingly important. Let's take a look at how patent law developed from the late 15th century into the system we have today. Patent law developed over several centuries and is generally considered to have its roots in the Venetian Patent Statute. In the late 15th century, Venetian glassmakers developed new techniques for coloring glass. To protect their crafts and to stimulate local development, the Senate issued the Venetian Patent Statute in 1474. This statute required detailed disclosure of the invention and in exchange offered the inventor protection from infringement for a period of 10 years. Throughout the rest of Europe, patent law had not really developed yet. English and French monarchs could grant royal monopolies that gave exclusive rights to make or sell a product. Several monopolies were granted in that time for salt, soap, starch, iron, and paper. During the early 1600s, these monopolies were heavily criticized for merely enriching the monopolists and for not stimulating technological advancements. Therefore, in 1624, the Statute of Monopolies was introduced in England that restricted patent protection to new inventions only. In the second half of the 18th century, the United States became independent from Great Britain, and this allowed the Founding Fathers to design their own patent laws. While the patent law system in European countries was complicated, expensive, and only within reach of the elite, the US patent law was simple and affordable. In this way, creativity and inventiveness of the common man was stimulated and contributed to the strong economic development of the USA. During the Industrial Revolution, the economic landscape in Europe changed and several leading economies arose. European countries further developed their patent systems independently. New regulations were set in place, for example, the requirement to include a full description of the invention and the introduction of thorough examination procedures. However, around 1850, a counter-movement advocating free trade arose. In European countries such as the Netherlands and Switzerland, a free trade movement was active that allowed free use of foreign protected inventions. Needless to say that these countries greatly benefited from this patent-free period to develop their industries. However, they were regarded as pirate states. A first major step towards harmonization and international protection of industrial property was the Paris Convention, which also included the former pirate states. This international agreement of 1883 helped creators to ensure that their intellectual works, including patents, were also protected in other countries. What about patenting in the pharmaceutical industry? Early drug development mainly consisted of extracting active compounds from plants. A few examples were quinine, digitalis, and alkaloids. By the end of the 19th century, chemists had learned how to synthesize drugs and to create chemically improved versions. The synthesis of a well-known pain reliever, acetyl salicylic acid, or aspirin, was successfully patented in the USA by the German company Bayer in 1900. Interestingly, the various patent laws in European countries at that time would allow patents for chemical and pharmaceutical processes, while the synthesis products were explicitly excluded. This exclusion lasted in several European countries until the mid-20th century. Following the Paris Convention and subsequent initiatives, the World Intellectual Property Organization was set up in 1967 to regulate and further harmonize national patent laws towards a global patent system. The Patent Cooperation Treaty was instigated by the WIPO in 1970, which nowadays enables the filing of an application in more than 150 states simultaneously. However, a patent grant is still given at a national or regional level. Since the 1990s, WIPO is thus working on a global patent harmonization treaty, which may ultimately lead to one global patent law. On a European scale, obtaining a European patent via a single procedure is possible via the European Patent Office under the European Patent Convention. An EPC patent grant, however, is effectively a group of national patents that are valid in each of the designated states. To further simplify procedures, the EU is working on a single unitary patent that will be valid in all EU member states. Nowadays, inventors around the world file over 3 million patent applications each year. Recently, the number of patents filed by Asia has grown, indicating an increased importance of patent protection worldwide. Now you have a global overview of the history of the patent system. In the rest of this course, we'll further explore the details of patent law.
Surveillance, at its most basic, is a method of gaining access to data. A surveillance agent is one who has access to personal data, whether through search tools, rules, or logistical or physical arrangements. In contrast, privacy entails a subject who uses the same method to limit access to personal data. There are three main surveillance types. That is direct surveillance, which monitors target an individual in a covert fashion in public places. This does not include any surveillance done on private property. For example, police detectives listen and record a conversation between suspects at a local pub. The following types is pre-constructive surveillance that involves the observation of general public to scan for suspicious activity, such as the use of multiple closed-circuit televisions, also known as CCTVs. Last but not least, reconstructive surveillance. It is done retrospectively during an investigation, in which investigators will record data, information, and evidence through a pre-constructive surveillance technique. For instance, if a suspect had stolen something from a gas station store and investigators could not find enough information through reconstructive methods, they can go back and to watch footage captured on the gas station CCTV cameras to see what the criminal touched or missing inventory to link the suspect to the crime. Reliability is how well a computer system performs the functions for which it was designed and how well it does so without failure. Reliability is essential because if the system is not trustworthy, it may not perform as intended. When systems fail, tremendous quantities of damage can result. For instance, computer glitch at the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, prevented the IRS from processing over 5 million Americans' electronically filed tax returns. Following that, hardware reliability, software reliability, and data reliability are the three basic categories of reliability. Hardware reliability is a statement of the ability of hardware to perform its functions for some period of time, while software reliability is the probability of failure-free operation of a computer program for a specified period in a specified environment. Following that, data reliability means that data is complete and accurate, and it is a crucial foundation for building data trust across the organization. Reliability takes many forms. A reliable computer exhibits dependability and has high uptime and low downtime and system failure rate. System reliability can be achieved using techniques such as redundancy. Redundant systems have multiple copies of critical components available. That way, if a primary component fails, a backup can be used. Redundant systems also have fault tolerance, which is ability of a computing device to absorb a disruptive event such as a power outage and quickly resume operation and output. Professional ethics are values that guide how an individual or group behaves in a professional setting. Professional ethics offer guidelines for how one should behave towards other individuals and institutions in such a setting similar to values. Ethical principles underpin all professional codes of conduct. Ethical principles may differ depending on the profession. For example, professional ethics that relate to medical practitioners will differ from those that relate to lawyers or real estate agents. These professional ethical principles serve as the foundation for professional codes of conduct, which specify the expected standards of conduct for a profession's member. They also aim to define what is expected of members of the profession and society. Professional codes of conduct provide benefit to, first, the public, as they build confidence in the profession trustworthiness. Second, client, as they provide greater transparency and certainty about how their affair will be handled. Third, members of the profession, as they provide a supporting framework for resisting pressure to act inappropriately and for making acceptable decisions in what they may be gray areas. And fourth, the profession as a whole, as they provide a common understanding of acceptable practice which builds collegiality and allows for fairer disciplinary procedures. And the last but not least, other dealing with the profession, as the profession will be seen as more reliable and easier to deal with. Here is an animated video explaining a good work ethics.
A discussion of the work ethic brings up some very provocative questions. Do workplace ethics problems come from a lack of a work ethic? Where does your character fit into your work ethic? What is happening in our modern global work environment that conflicts with our traditional view of the work ethic? How can we instill a good work ethic in those entering the workforce or those already in it? Of course, everyone has something to say on the topic. Everyone has a story to tell. In discussing the work ethic, there are many issues in play, including cultural issues, generational issues, parenting, self-discipline, character, and many others. You need to understand that the work ethic, personal character, and ethical behavior at work are interconnected and are key factors in our professional ethical life. Why does the word morality leave most of us with an unsettled feeling? The fact is, whether we have high moral standards or not, Most of us don't want to feel that someone else's morality is being pushed on us. It's simple human nature. We prefer to make our own moral decisions. But in reality, whether we know it or not, or like it or not, someone else's morality is constantly influencing our everyday decisions. In order to have any kind of meaningful dialogue on ethics, a discussion of morality must take place. One can argue that there is no such thing as ethics without morality. We need to be comfortable discussing morality in a variety of contexts and standing up for it when the time is right. Learning to make moral judgments is a significant step toward making compliance to rules an internal part of our character. The workplace is a unique setting to talk about moral decision-making because some areas of the workplace are highly regulated by rules, yet others are not. We need to think about how this practically works out and how to develop skills to address the wide variety of circumstances we face each day.
That is all from me. Thank you for watching my presentation.